Jessica Frazier. I'm a lecturer at the University of Oxford.
Well, I'm Alistair McGrath and I'm the Andreas Idris Professor of Science and Religion.
I am Professor Dermot McCullough and my speciality is the history of the Church.
My name's Catherine. They call me an Associate Professor of Old Testament.
My name is Anthony Reddy. I'm the Director of the Oxford Centre for Religion and Culture.
My name is Hindi Naiman. I'm the Oral and Lay Professor of the Interpretation of Holy Scripture.
I'm Anna Sapir Abulafia, and here in Oxford I hold the chair of the study of the Abrahamic religions.
The study of theology and religion gives us a wonderful chance to explore the incredible resource of different ideas and histories that are there for us. It's a wonderful subject because it frees us from the bounds of being stuck in whatever we've been taught or whatever our society gives us. It opens us up to all the different things that are there in the library of world history. I find students adore this. They love to discover new ideas. They love to find that their options for what to believe and how to live are much wider than they realized.
Well, for me, one of the most distinctive things about human beings is that we feel we are part of a bigger picture. And very often we express this conceptually, in other words, we talk about God or the transcendent, but very often we enact it as well in doing certain things or belonging to certain things. And so in many ways, the whole area of theology and religion is about beliefs, it's about practices, and so it's really trying to understand how the difference that this makes to people. My own area actually looks at both these, what people believe, the way in which they behave, but it tends to focus mainly on the way in which religious beliefs impact on people's attitudes towards the natural sciences. So it's a very broad area, very interesting area too.
To study theology and religion, it seems to me that you're stepping back from these very personal subjects in order to see what it is like to encounter God over time in different cultures. Religion is an extraordinary facility of the human mind and psyche. So it has so many different forms, and it's important to treat it academically because it's a subject which is so full of power, so full of emotion, that it can easily be a force for, let's frankly say it, evil. And the job of academics is to analyse it in ways which are helpful for those who are involved in religion, but also helpful for those who don't understand it and don't see what the point is.
I'll take them separately, theology, then religion. So theology, as I understand it, comes from a Greek word, theos, meaning God, and logos. There's a debate. There's a whole load of debates about the logos, but essentially, for the purpose of this, I'm just going to translate words. So essentially, words about God. What do we do with words about God? This is essentially talking about God. Religion is a synonym of theology, and it's a huge question as to what it actually means. I mean, if you look at sort of a dictionary definition or something like this, it will say study of a supreme being. But even that could be problematized because actually not all religions involve gods. So, I mean, in Oxford in theology, the curriculum focuses on studying major world religions. And I think the key thing to flag up is that, theology and religion is a very, very wide-ranging subject. So, you're looking at global religion from, in my field, around about the 9th century BCE. I don't know about in other fields, but, until the present day. So it's impossible for, one person to specialise in all these different areas. So it's broken down really into specialist subject fields.
Well, at its most basic in terms of theology, like the derivation of the word literally means God talk. So it's talk about God, understanding the nature of God, I guess the relationship of God to human beings, and the implications of what faith in God actually looks like. It tends to be done by people who tend to believe. You don't have to believe to do theology, but it invariably tends to be people who have some type of religious faith. Probably maybe the last 150 years or so has seen the development of religious studies, which is a companion piece to theology. But I think there are two crucial differences. One is that it makes absolutely no presumption of belief in God at all, whereas theology doesn't have to, but tends to. And also tends to look at the more broader perspectives around the phenomena of religion. So whereas theology tends to historically look at more the metaphysics. So who is God? What's God's nature? How do we know that God even exists? How can we know that we know, for example? Whereas I think religious studies tends to be a slightly broader look at the phenomena of religion. So where does it come where do religions come from? In what ways are they kind of responding to belief in divine attributes, but also in what ways are they also, I think, sort of forms of human organisation, ways of organising our thoughts around God and society and cultures.
So this is such a great question to ask and to reflect on. First of all, what is theology and what is religion? So theology, whenever I teach intro to theology classes or the biblical course, Introduction to Bible, theology is literally God talk or God speak. It's about God, it's about divinity, it's about concepts of deity, and the way in which we as human beings translate that through the Logos, which can be mikra, it can be scripture, it can be text, it can be hermeneutics. Logos can be angelos, it can be an angel, it can be a prophet, it can be a teacher. And I think that's what I mean by theology. I don't think theology can only be about the history of Christianity or the history of Judaism and Christianity. I think theology is a context for thinking about how we conceive of deity, how we conceive of the heavenly in relation to the terrestrial, and also how we as human beings can think about the call to be godlike and to aspire towards the study of perfection, the study of improvement, the study of transformation. On religion. So it's really interesting. I left a department which was religious studies, which had been cut off from theology. So in the Yale Divinity School, I was also a member of the faculty there, but my main appointment was in Yale College in religious studies. It was about the study of religion, comparative religion, religious texts, religion as a place for humanities and science to reflect. And I understand the study of religion to be both specific and comparative. I don't think it's necessarily comparative. It can be about holiness. It can be about hermeneutics. It can be about the history of religion. But it can also cover in a very deep and complex and therapeutic way the areas that I signaled in theology. And now to answer your real question, which is what is it to talk about theology and religion? It's an opportunity to think about religion and theology in the humanities and the social sciences, to think about the church, the synagogue, the mosque, right? To think about different contexts for prayer and for reflection, but also to think about the history of the transformation of religion and how these individual traditions, and this is really specific to my own work and my own thinking, are vital and dynamic and vibrant to a past, to a future, and to its own present.
I really like that question, because the way I see it, what's really very special in Oxford is that you can combine the study of theology with also being interested in religion in general. Now, what do I mean by that? As far as I know, in the United States, there's a very, very firm division between anything to do with what's confessional and then the study of religions. But the great thing about what we do here is that it is perfectly acceptable, I mean, it just isn't a problem, to come to the study of theology with a very particular conviction, if you like, confessional conviction, in any particular religion, and that's absolutely crucial. We are not just talking about Christianity. And that it is accepted that with that conviction, you can still do very good, rigorous, dispassionate research, either in the religion you happen to hold yourself or tradition, whatever words we want to use with that, or in another one, and or in religion in general. There isn't any idea that somehow, because you have a confessional, not just interest, but you have confessional beliefs or whatever, that somehow that disqualifies you from being able to look, as an academic should, as rigorously as possible. I mean, none of us are totally objective, but as long as we're aware of where we are, then we can do it. And I think that's absolutely amazing, that we give people that freedom. I mean, the other great thing is, of course, how interdisciplinary the whole field of theology and religion is. I'm trained as a historian. A colleague of mine is trained as an anthropologist. There's so many different ways. We have philosophers in my subject group. There's so many ways of approaching this and exploring all of the different issues that are raised by these absolutely fundamental questions about, who are we, where do we go, where do we come from?